What was your biggest problem when you were 11? All the library books I forgot to return and had hidden under my bed. I had constant anxiety my mom would find them and the police would come to arrest me and I'd owe the library $1,000. Edit. I called my mom to ask if she ever got a call about fees and she said yes, but the library had a policy of capping the fee at $20 and we had moved since then. So she paid them $100 and kept the books. Supposedly we still even have a few. Trying to convince my mom that RuneScape isn't a virus. She still thinks video games are just a front for hackers. Used the master ball too early and had to try to catch legendaries with regular pokeballs lol. Grades. I was raised in an hours or beating household. Taught me to stress. Wondering if anyone would ever think I was not weird for being quiet. Isolation and merciless bullying. I was actually happy when the middle school counselor invited me to be part of her lunch club with a few other students, not realizing that she did it because she pitied us and didn't want us to go off the deep end. Parents spiraled into addiction, leaving their 6 kids to fend for themselves. My dad left, skipped town, leaving everything behind. My mom would go on binges and disappear weeks at a time. I was 11, going to school, multiple paper routes, buying what little food I could afford, and caring for my 1-year-old brother. I let myself starve many nights so my little brothers could eat. My mother was friends with the town judge and would get any child endangerment/neglect claims or complaints thrown out before they could go anywhere, and then threatened to send us away for trying to ruin our family. It was a mind duck. These days I find myself the father of an 11-year-old boy who struggles with insecurity and self-esteem like most boys, but I see myself in him and cannot help but feel a chance for vicarious redemption through raising him with love, patience, compassion, and understanding. Not receiving my letter to go to Hogwarts. Being nearly 6 foot and people thinking I was 15 to 16. Doesn't sound too bad, but when 15 to 16-year-olds who think they're hard start being funny with you as an 11-year-old, it can be quite intimidating. Also, hair. I had absolutely no idea what to do with my sort of curly, sort of wavy hair at 11. I just put water on it and tried to press it down. It turned into a bit of a box head, flat on top. Edit. My highest upvoted comment and it is about my awkward, lanky preteen years. Nice to know we were together, in spirit, during that weird time D. I outed a family member who was being inappropriate with me, and the resulting drama made me wish I had just kept my mouth shut. I still wish I had just kept my mouth shut. Look at this phone bill you costed us when the police had to phone all your cousins and ask if X did this to them too. Oh look, you were the only one. You were obviously his favorite. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I appreciate all the kind words of support. For those asking, this happened in the mid-90s and maybe something has changed these days, but the police were informed before my family. They kept me at the station while the police went to the home to surprise the relative in question, who was there on one of his rare visits, so there wasn't a ton of opportunity. They insisted on phoning inside my parents' home to see who else was affected by this, and stayed on the line with my aunts/uncles while their children were questioned. I guess it took a long time. I was the oldest, and you can't just march up to a 6-year-old and say, "Hey, has X been diddling you?" My mother showed me the resulting phone bill and made some comment about taking it out of my paper route money. It was for $50 plus, a lot in the mid-90s. She never did take it out of my money, but she still brings this phone bill up sometimes. I guess the bill was for naught, considering none of my cousins were affected, which is why she's so salty and points out my preferential treatment. I think the police chose to call from inside the home to make the decision on whether or not to arrest my relative. Age 11 was a rough year for me. My mom put me in the car, drove about 1/2 hour to a strange part of town, told me to get out. Told me she didn't love me and that she was done. I waited there for maybe 6 or 8 hours, expecting that she'd change her mind and come back. She didn't. I slept behind a trash dumpster that night, and the next day I walked in the general direction of where I thought my grandparents lived. That's my dad's parents. By evening the next day, I found them. Got a good meal and they called my dad. First time I saw him in over a year. I moved in with him. The kicker was that my mom still had my 2 brothers and my dad owed her a lot of child support. After paying her, we were poor enough that we frequently didn't have electricity and sometimes had to skip a meal. Took 2 years for him to get custody of my brothers and finally get dug out of that hole. Till 90% of people on Reddit had hitty home lives. I started my period when I was 11. I was in the 6th grade, and I was the only girl with a purse for my personal products. All the others would poke fun at it. My mom's boyfriend punching my grandmother in the face because my grandmother caught him in a bar with another woman. And then my mom deciding I couldn't see my grandmother anymore. My dad passed away when I was 11. So that asked out my longtime crush and he didn't like me back. Cried for 3 days listening to Taylor Swift. Bullying. Figuring out what I did to deserve being hit by dad. Trying to decide what to tell the judge when he asked which parent I want to live with. Whether Stassi likes me back or not. Bullying. Just pure psychological torture from the girls, physical torture from the boys, dropped by my friends, largely ignored by my teachers though a few good ones did their best. Nothing like your cries for help being recorded and used as someone's cell phone ringtone. If you offered me enough money to never work again, to relive 7th grade exactly as it happened, I wouldn't take it. I'm a happy, well-adjusted adult, but the scars of that kind of persistent torture are deep. Finding a reason to stay to see age 12. My dad consistently not paying the rent, so we had to move constantly, and my mom spending money on pills and cigarettes before food. I was bullied for being ugly, but my parents didn't let me wear makeup or cut my hair. Choosing between a Tweety bird and a Sylvester fake tattoo for my ankle. I was pretty worried about running into quicksand. Figuring out why I wanted to kiss my best friend even though I was pretty sure I was not gay. And also why the lesbian PP pop-ups on our computer made me feel things. My Mothra's bipolar disorder. Being bullied / jumped at school in full view of teachers with nobody coming to my aid. Handling the bullying and beatings from the other kids in my class. All my guy friends think I'm one of the guys, so no one will probably ever like me ever. Trying to figure out the sweet spot of applied violence that would allow me to make bullies not want to come back for more in the future, while at the same time not causing the amount of damage that would send someone to the school nurse or leave highly visible marks the helicopter mothers of school bullies would lose their hit over. In retrospect, it scares me that I had to be methodical about this hit. My mom dying from cancer. Please subscribe to Reddit Throne. Please subscribe to Reddit Throne.